Hello, it's a pleasure to be here tonight. Well, it's 5 o'clock here in Switzerland. I know we are live with the United States. I think it's 9 o'clock in the morning over there. So, good morning and
Morning.
good
Good
evening.
afternoon to you.
Thank you. We're here with Professor Amanda Minervini. Amanda is Associate Professor at Colorado College, and she's also the founder and director of EGLE. I never know how to pronounce this acronym in
I
English.
like Eagle.
Eagle, right? Like really like a homophone of eagle. All right. Okay, so Eagle, which is the equine guided learning and healing experience, and she's going to talk tonight with us about her experience. And in particular, the topic of our conversation is animal, basically, zooanthropology, applied zooanthropology in relationship to horses, because Amanda is a member of the International Society of Zoanthropology. She has also contributed a brilliant entry for our blog where she explains the goals, the purposes, her own experience with Eagle. And before I pass the word on to you, Amanda, I would like to say a couple of words about zoanthropology and also about dimensions of relationship, which is what you are going to talk about tonight, right? So I'm Cosetta Veronese. I'm the president of the International Society of Zoanthropology, and I'll just say a couple of very succinctly, a couple of words about this new science, relatively new, which has been initiated essentially by Roberto Marchesini in Italy. And it's a science that studies the contribution that non-humans have given to the development of so-called human culture. And it's based on five principles, five tenets, five criteria, let's put it like that. The first is that animals are subjects. They are endowed with subjectivity. That is, they are the bearers of intrinsic interests and of a distinctive perspective on the world. And this, of course, makes them reference, that is to say, bearers of content, carriers of content, and as a consequence, interlocutors for us. We enter into a dialogue and exchange. And indeed, the third point is a relational nature of our interaction with animals. The third point is the fact that we enter a relationship with animals as an exchange of information between us and them. And this is what brings us to the fourth point, that is, through this relationship, we experience epiphanies, moments of enlightenment, moments of discovery, where we realize that there are other existential dimensions that are possible besides ours. And this brings us to the fifth point, which is the fact that our characteristics are not distinctively human, but they are hybrid. They're the result of the merge of our phylogenetic traits with the species-specific characteristics of other animals. And this merge makes allows the definition, the creation, the emergence of new traits that characterize us as human, but that cannot be defined as exclusively human. And just, I'll steal another couple of minutes before passing on the word to you. I wanted to mention the dimensions of relationship. When we talk about relationship, we talk about levels of relationship. Relationships can disentangle at different levels. We behave differently in our intra-specific relationships with our boss, with our children, with our partners, with the members of our sports team, we relate to people differently. And the same is true with animals. And always Roberto Marquezini has identified 5 different dimensions of relationship, which I will list now. The first and most important one is the affective dimension, the dimension of affectivity, of emotions, how we come to terms emotionally with animals. Of course, animals also belong to our social environment. There is a social relationship, the social, sorry, dimension. We belong to a social group along with them. There is the ludic dimension, the dimension of play. We can entertain ourselves. There you go. He's asking for care, right? We interact with them we interact with them also by playing with them. And then there's the hedonistic dimension, the dimension of pleasure, and the epistemic dimension, which is the dimension of knowledge, exploration, experience. And all these dimensions, I'm sure you have experienced with your horses in your life. And that's how I would like to begin our conversation by asking you how your relationship with horses was born, how it was born, how it developed, because I know it did. I know you have really grown and changed through them, and this transformations, these changes, this evolution has brought you to fantastic projects, both with horses and in education at the university. So over to you.
Yeah, all thanks to horses, and also thank you for having me here today. Me and my companions are here in the office with me. Yeah, so I grew up in southern Italy in a completely non-horsey family and in a very urban environment. Where actually spaces for nature were very restricted, but somehow I was, the one born with a so-called horse bug. Me and my brother, and I do know that my paternal grandfather also loved horses, but as a family, we were never able to afford them. And, it's been, think about a century that we have been severed from our relationship with equines because of technology. But otherwise, we know that for the last 4 to 6 thousand years, we've had a very important relationship with equines that have helped us as a species in, all different ways. So I remember that because so my parents would take me to the countryside. I remember pointing really intensely when I would see a horse and I couldn't speak yet. I had this intense burning desire to be with them and, look at their big, beautiful eyes and, just maybe touch them.
It's a
And
passion,
then, yep.
a passion, a passion for.
Yes, born with this passion, right? And although my parents did not support it, it didn't really hinder me too much. So I was able, when I was 12, actually to get rides outside of town, would be 40-minute drives with, random people to get to the barn where my brother had started working, and I could actually exchange some little help for riding lessons. And it was a very traditional cavalry-based riding school, and but it was my first approach. And then over the years, I always kept in touch with horses somehow, even though I moved to Germany, the United States. I always had somehow friends who were into horses. There was this big passion in common. Until,
We look for
yeah,
friends who share our passions.
yes. And also it allows me as a person to be intra-specifically with people I would probably not have any relations with. So when I turned 40, I had a freak accident and I was recovering. I had surgery. I think so, I decided, I'm just gonna get a off the truck thoroughbred, rescue him while I heal, so we can heal together. Not the best idea, actually. But this horse was Jimmy, and he's some photos over there. You can see him with my students.
Yeah.
He's the one who really restarted my journey. Uh, Consider the difficult, dangerous horse. He was a stallion for 7 years on the track. So when he came to me, he had reasons to be, not liking people too much and had physical challenges as well. So we started this mental and physical rehab where I had to realize that I didn't know how to help him and I had to just start from scratch and learn everything again. So I really started a huge, big journey where I met incredible people who are shifting the way we are approaching to horses. And Roberto Marchesini, actually, I invited him to give a talk here at Colorado College a couple of years ago. In the middle of Colorado winter, we were covered with snow, but we actually went to the ranch and he met the horses, he met Jimmy. And I think he really appreciated the way I was approaching horses. And, now I can see that the 5 dimensions are all present in what I try to do with the horses, with students and the people from the community who come and join us.
Sure. Well, I find it really touching, this testimony of yours. Having that accident has really somehow twisted your life in a way. And I'm really amazed because your experience sounds very similar to mine, in the sense that I had similar experiences with horses when I was a child. I also had this intrinsic passion for these big animals and was in love with them and had the started more or less the same age, 12, to ride for a few years, but and then I had an accident which kind of discontinued my activities. I didn't really get into so close with horses then, but certainly this experience bounced back on me when I started my work. I started work with Roberto Marchesini and animals, and I rescued a dog with serious behavioral problems, which transformed my life altogether. And would you like to tell us more about this learning and healing experience, which also gives a name to what I understand is your personal ethology-based approach to equine relationships?
Yeah, very much ethology and science-based. I don't call it a therapeutic program because I'm an educator, I'm not a therapist, but I have noticed by giving students post sessions, questionnaires, that they always say how they came to the ranch and they were feeling stressed and tired, and when they left, they were feeling happier, they had more energy and even more willingness to do homework. So I kept seeing the same ideas, and so I added the age of healing. And this morning I was actually seeing a research study published that basically says that there is a therapeutic effect in being with horses, even without any intentional therapeutic relationship.
Do you want me to share the screen and show the poster you sent me? Because I think this is also relevant, right, to what you just
Yeah, why don't you show it? I mean, I
yeah.
haven't looked at the data yet. For sure, not all research is equal,
This
but
is
I think it's proven something that I have been saying for a while, and I'm not the only one. And the Horses and Humans is a very reputable research institute, actually, that gives grants for this kind of research.
yeah.
But it was published in 2021.
And of course, what is interesting, it says the horse as a therapist, which echoes the groundbreaking title of Boris Levinson's famous, say, pioneering work on animal-assisted interventions, right? The dog as a co-therapist in the 1960s. That was what struck
Yeah,
me
exactly.
first when I watched it. So sorry to interrupt you.
No, 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 please.
So
Um,
yeah.
Yeah, talking of which, I have my two emotional support dogs here with me in the office, all certified with their collars. Yeah, so just to say a little bit more about EGLE, it's not a ridden program because that's another anthropocentric bias that, we see a horse, we want to ride them, but who says that we have to, right? There is so much to learn from just a relationship with the ground that's hopefully based on equality, and it's a co-creational and based on attunement. So I actually have blended a few different philosophies in pedagogy and in so-called horse training, but also prefer to say being with horses, working with horses. One is Warwick Schiller. I think he's one of the trainers today who's famous, but also he keeps learning. He's a very curious person who, reads and studies and asks a lot of questions. So he's actually evolved enormously in the last 10 years. And then, as pedagogy, I work on student-centered theories that, they're not new at all, but it's not so easy to actually implement them on a day-to-day basis. So bell hooks and Paulo Freire, pedagogy of the oppressed, and these ideas also of from bell hooks that love is an active practice, it's not just an emotion. And I connect this idea of bell hooks, love is a practice, with recent ideas in ethology of, species appropriate environments where you have to provide the proper environment for horses first and foremost, and then you can do other things with them. And so I take the idea of the 5 domains that's been developed from the 5 freedoms.
Yeah, sure.
And so once I was able to provide the horses in the program with as much species appropriate environment, they live outside, in herds, on pasture, free food. So because they are designed to, eat and walk. So maybe they don't walk so much because we don't have a track system, but they can have all the food they want. Then, we come into the relationship. And we have to be more interesting than their friends and their food. So I have all these videos, for instance, of Jimmy leaving everything when he sees me to come and, approach me. And in the same way, when I approach with a group of students or members from the community, we approach the herd outside of the fence. And we see which horses are coming who want to engage. And if they don't engage, we don't go and take them away. They have to choose. So first of all, they have their freedom. And then most of the program is also a liberty as much as possible, with also some considerations of the logistics. Unfortunately, this is so sad and unfair, but I don't own land. I don't have my own ranch, but, I have a very generous...
You're depending on others for
exactly.
your
I have to be around other people who are doing other things. So sometimes we cannot do everything in liberty, but as much as possible. Yeah. And also we have generous ranch owners who let me run this program from their beautiful, gorgeous ranch. I hope one day you'll come to see it like Marchesini did.
I would love to.
And then, yeah, and then the equine guides who are working with us that day, maybe 1, 2, or 3 for a group of 8 to 12. They give suggestions on where they want to go and what kind of activities they want to perform. Maybe they take us around the ranch and, they want to sniff around. I've also done some scent work with them based on Rachel Dreisma's work. And then if we have to be in an indoor space, there are also some games that I can suggest, and they also can pick which ones they want to engage with. And it can be following a target, kicking a yoga ball, finding treats that are hidden, little obstacles. And, you will also see it's really beautiful that yes, I give treats, so there is also that kind of motivation, but also scratches, right. And they ask for scratches in a certain way. That sometimes they actually completely volunteer an activity, and then they look at you, and they want to praise, and it's just so beautiful how generous they are. And sometimes they're also too generous. We have to be very careful not to do and ask too much of them. Sure. And that's why I don't do more than 2 sessions a month.
Sure. What struck me actually is one of the key words you used, a key word of zoanthropology, which is co-creation. You use the adjective co-creational, and of course, it's a co-creation, right?
Yeah.
Not just in what we do with them. Each part brings its own contribution, but also, and this is very interesting. There was this very interesting article by Vinciane Dupré, how our interaction. I mean, she refers to the work of Pepperberg on Alex, the parakeet with whom she worked for over 30 years. And Dupre analyzes the relationship Pepperberg had with her parrot, implying that they together create their own subjectivity as individuals. And this co-creation you mentioned goes exactly in that direction. And you also drew attention to another important point. You said, I avoid to use the word training. And this is exactly another important point I find. We use the word training a little bit too much. I know that in English, for example, there is no such label as dog educator, but you still talk about dog trainer.
Yeah,
All
but
right.
also don't think that it's always us educating them. It's a very
Indeed.
reciprocal, right?
It's
It's
mutual, absolutely.
they teach us about themselves as subjects, not just about the species, right? And I've
Exactly.
been studying a lot about the species, all the super new research in cognition studies, and yet every horse is extremely an individual, right? And that's so beautiful to get to know each one of them. And also, I think that the best people who approach horses don't have a cookie cutter method, and which is something that really undermines most people in this world. They stick to one method, and if the horses don't fit, then they are rejects and can end up bad. And actually love to work with these horses that don't fit in other programs.
Yeah.
But then also for me the question has always been, so what's in for the horses? Because in some more traditional therapeutic programs, not all of them, some, it's all about the humans. We need to heal these children. We need to heal these
True.
veterans, which is great. But then what's in there for the horses, right? So for me, apart from the fact that I spend enormous amounts of time just doing what they want to do to, I call it putting coins in the bank of the relationship, so that I give and give and give, so that when I ask, I know that they want to because I've given, right?
That's
And
right.
they know I am a human who likes to listen and understand and, do also offer. So what's in there for them, and I noticed that in the co-creational relation, they really have a lot of pleasure, satisfaction from being able to be in an equal relationship with humans.
They feel fulfilled.
Yeah, it's very fulfilling to have a say, to be heard, seen, right? Which is one of the definition that Warwick Schiller gives of attuned horsemanship. Uh,
Yeah.
Getting gotten, feeling seen, feeling heard, right?
And I think this is one of the points that you mostly underline in the contribute. I mean, it's a brief contribution you wrote for us, but it's brilliant, where you say you always ask, what have we got to offer to
What
them?
can we do for
What,
them?
yeah, what can we do
Yeah,
for them? Yeah.
yeah.
What do they need from us, or what do they ask us? And this is exactly the point of the exchange, the relationship, the transition of content between reference. Yeah, very much
Yeah,
so.
I
And of
hope
course,
so. I hope so.
yeah, I'm sure I know it is like that. And of course, when we talk about this, we also end up talking about another important point, which is not strictly or directly related to zoanthropology, because zoanthropology, as I said earlier, is a science that studies the say contribution that animals have given, not necessarily from an ethical perspective. However, ethics comes into play, of course, when we talk about needs, right? And in his latest book, Towards an Ethics of Empathy, Roberto Marquezini underlines especially this point, that when we interact with non-humans, the question we need to ask is not can they suffer like in traditional, say, animal rights movement, but is what empathy, what is empathy? Empathy is the capacity of feeling that what the other one feels, but also of keeping oneself, of holding on to what and who one is in order to be in a position to help the other. So
And this is
there's not,
also, sorry, the
no,
position of Franz de Waal's The Age of Empathy. And I think also one of the great aspects for us humans of, this co-creational equality-based interspecies relationship is that we can learn a lot from non-human animals. They really have some important lessons in community. I am more experienced with horses, but I could talk about other animals too. And then, in reciprocally, we could and we should become better humans in a, interspecies world, because I think as a species, we've been way, way too selfish. Anthropocentrism, just indoctrinated has dominated philosophy and, I don't know, geothermal energy, like everything that we do, right, is so exploitative. So yes, Marchesini and De Waal on empathy are very important lessons.
absolutely. And as you mentioned this, perhaps we want to conclude with saying also something about, well, before we come to that point, I wanted to ask you one more question. That is, do you have to share any particular experience that struck you in terms of, let's say, over the years, in terms of how an interaction, whether yours or of a student of yours, that struck you as a transformative experience for both, say, the human and the horse, or for one of the parties?
Yeah,
The-
I have many. I picked one, especially that happened to a student a couple of years ago, and I saw it happening, but I didn't realize immediately while it was happening during the session how important it was with the student. But luckily, I do run the, pre-session and post-session questionnaires. And so this student forgot her closed-toe shoes, which are a requirement to be around horses, as you can imagine. And so I told her, okay, please observe the session from outside, stay beyond the fence, and you cannot come near horses. But so we had Jimmy loose in the arena with a group of 12, 15 students. And he likes to, do rounds and meet everybody. And he starts sniffing around and then notices that he's being looked at from outside. And there is this one student isolated, not part of the group. And so I see him thinking, and he goes and walks up to her and just, snuggles with her, lets her, uh,
Trying to get
cuddle
her,
him and, scratch him. And he stays with her a long time. And we're all like, oh my gosh, this is incredible.
yeah.
And then, so this is a significant experience with an equine, with a non-human animal that actually is also identified in therapy. Very important formative moment for the student, who said that she felt completely seen, understood, and included thanks to the horse, because in that moment she was feeling very sad and kind of objected because she was left out of the group. And this thing that she had been wanting to do, she was like, I was feeling so stupid because I couldn't forgive myself for forgetting to bring shoes,
Sure.
And Jimmy was like, nah, it's all right, and went and snuggled, and like the velvety muzzle, and
Yeah, yeah.
how good they smell. And
The
so she
nose and yeah,
she
yeah.
wrote about this, and then we discussed it in this very office. She came and we had a conversation, and I can tell you many more, but I think this gives you a sense that they are better than us at reading subtle signs and interpreting our emotions. There are many studies now that says that equines are fine observers of humans, much better than we do to each other.
Of course. And talking about dimensions of relationship, he implemented the social dimension. He tried to openly, obviously, blatantly get her into the group.
And I think there was
Because
a dimension
he,
of comforting too, emotional
absolutely
comforting.
consolation as well.
Yeah.
Yeah. both taking care of. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful testimony. Thank you very much indeed. And I wanted to close the session by, of course, informing that our future spectators, our future audience, that on the 25th and the 26th of October, there will be this beautiful event in Bologna, this GIS, Giornata Internazionale di Studi, where you will be present. I will be one of the
Amazing.
moderators, and many other interesting and important speakers will be there. So it's a very
Biosfera. It's called Biosfera.
it's dedicated to exactly biosphere and the importance of being part of nature, because we always tend to think that we are somehow, you mentioned anthropocentrism, we're still above, we're still outside of nature, and nature continues to be our resource that we exploit and relentlessly, without and shamefully, not to use other words. So Bologna, 25th and 26th of October, it's a Saturday and Sunday. We hope that many people are going to join us. The event is free for registration, and the poster and details are available on our will be available on our website and also on our Facebook page. So Amanda, thanks very much for taking part in this. It was really really touching, I must say, and I was very excited to be able to speak to you about these experiences of yours and the amazing work that you are doing over there.
Grazie a te, Cosetta, and I'm so excited that finally we're going to be able to meet and speak a lot more in person in Bologna. So you guys come and join us, and yeah, thank you so much again.
Thank you.